Hey, what's up, guys? This is Slifer Slacker. And at the time of recording this, I put out a little poll asking my subscribers and channel members alike, what kind of in-depth deck would you like to see next? So we've got Cyber Dragons, and I'm going to kind of discuss combos, how to play it, and like what to look out for. So first, without further ado, we're going to go through the deck list. I'm pretty sure I put this out maybe like a month or two ago, but this is kind of like my pure cyber style, like Zane-esque deck, and it's really nice going second, and it can break boards pretty nice. So 3 Cyber Dragon. We are running 3 of the OG Cyber Dragon because we are playing it as an OTK deck, so we want to go second. We want to see him in our hand, summon it out, and then hopefully we have either Clockwork Knight, or if our opponent plays a Link, we can use that plus the Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon, and we can essentially just link their monster away. So you would summon out Cyber Dragon, use that monster as material as long as it's in the extra monster zone, and you can summon him out. So that's kind of like a little niche thing that I feel like only Cyber Dragons have something like that. But it kind of works with link strategies. So 3 copies of Hertz, because we don't really have a lot of good Cyber Dragon monsters. You kind of have to play, at least I max out on 3 Hertz, 3 core, because Hertz essentially it can be a searcher for the OG Cyber Dragon if it's pitched, or it can be recovery of any Cyber Dragon from grave. So it kind of works out. I'm hoping that we get new Cyber Dragon monsters. I'm hoping it's in a main set. I do not want to see it come in the Duelist pack that's coming up. I want to see that be like Cyber Angel support. But I do play the 3 copies of Cyber Dark Claw. It does help us get to some of the other Cyber Dark searchers in the deck. And one thing that I'm on that not a lot of people play, a lot of people would probably slot in the Kaiju right here, Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju, because that is searchable in this deck. But Cyber Eltanin or Cyber Eltanin is just such a good card if you think about it, okay? You can use it to bait negates, or once you've baited the negate, you can summon him out, wipe your opponent's entire board, and it sends to graveyard. It doesn't destroy, it doesn't target, it doesn't really, the only thing, like, your opponent can activate a monster in response to it, but like it can't get hand trapped. It's a very niche card, but it's something that I really enjoy playing this deck because it allows me to kind of steamroll my opponent if they, because a lot of people don't play it, it catches you off guard. 1 Cyber Dark Chimera to help with the OTK, and 1 Natcher. If you are not a fan of Hertz, or if you just want to increase the number of Natcher, you can theoretically increase Natcher to 2 and go 2 Natcher, 2 Hertz. I don't think that would be bad. In fact, that's actually probably not bad, but I just like to stick with 3 Hertz because it gives me the most when searching. Because if you send it off of, if you send it off of Cybernetic Horizon, then you're automatically you're plussing off of that interaction. So I like to just max out on that. 3 Machine Dupe, because this essentially says if I summon out core and you ash it, as long as you don't imperm or Veiler it, I can use it as Machine Dupe fodder to get out into Infinity, and then I can insulate with insulate from hand traps from there. A play set of Cyber Emergency. I can't imagine why anybody would not be playing 3 of that card. I was playing 1 Repair Plant, but I actually cut it in favor of another card because I feel like the deck is very consistent as it is. I believe with what we play in this deck, I want to say you have equivalent to about 12 to 15 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. The 3 core, the 3 emergency. I'll get to the rest here in a minute. For board breakers, we have Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight is essentially a super poly for this deck. Activate Clockwork Knight, get out into a Cyber Dragon, and then you can super poly your opponent's board away. So that definitely comes in handy going second, because your opponent pretty much has to respond to that. If they don't destroy it, then they're kind of screwed. 2 Power Bond, because I like to, if you go to activate the Cyberdark Chimera's effect and you have one in hand, you can pitch it and grab another one. And then your that Power Bond that you search has the capability of Overload Fusion to be used from the grave. So we have 2 copies of Cybernetic Horizon, 2 copies of Cyberdark Realm, and with that, I want to show you guys what I meant when I said we have about 12 copies of core. So we have 1, 2, 3 copies of Emergency, 1, 2, 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core, 1, 2, 3 copies of Claw. So this right here is 9. So you can use Horizon to search for core. You can use Cyberdark Realm to search for him, to search for that, to get to that. So theoretically, we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. At one point, I was running 3 and 3, but I feel like you don't need to have that many copies of him because it just kind of, it starts to be cloggy. And I feel like this is like the perfect ratio. Some good second cards. We've got 2 copies of Lightning Storm. Wipe the back row, wipe the front row, whatever. I've got 1 copy of Overload Fusion, 1 copy of Evolution and Burst. So this is something that I've started playing over the Cyber Repair Plant, just because I feel like in that slot it makes a little bit more sense. I mean, Cyber Repair Plant's a good card, but it's really only good if you're playing Galaxy Soldier. If you're playing Galaxy Soldier, if you're playing a Kaiju, you might consider running that. But it just kind of, I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit more cloggy for me. Regeki for that board break. 1 Called by the Grave. A play set of Infinite Impermanence. That just pretty much allows you to go ahead and just like spot negate something. And last but not least, 1 copy of the Cybernetic Overflow. So guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run through the bread and butter combo, and then I'm going to do some test hands. So your end board is likely going to be between 1 or 2 monsters, and I'll show you what those are and how to get there. First, let's take a look at the extra deck. So this is a Zane based deck, and I really, you know what, I gotta be honest, I really like that they combined Cyber Dragon and Cyberdark, because I feel like that shows the kind of completion of Zane's character. The Cyber Dragon stuff is amazing, don't get me wrong. The Cyber Dark stuff, some of it from the anime is really, really bad, but combining it, I feel like really just accentuates like Zane's character, because in the end of the day, he was that guy. He was the edgelord. He was the dude all in black, you know, the emo kid. But 1 copy of the OG Cyber End Dragon, 1 copy of Cyber Eternity Dragon, 1 copy of Cyber Twin Dragon, 1 copy of Cyber Dark End Dragon. And I'm going to explain real quick why this is in the main and not the side. Because with this deck, I turn it kind of into a... the side deck is like a conversion kit. And we'll see what that means in a minute. Because this is basically combining Cyber Dragon and Cyber Darks. 1 copy of the Cyber Dark Nest Dragon, Cyber Dark Dragon, Chimera Tech. This guy has actually come up a couple times and helped me OTK and push for game. So I kind of do like that card. It does suck that on summon he blows up your board, but he's usually something that I play late game when I just like, you know, heart of the cards, draw that Overload Fusion and, you know, pull it out. Chimera Tech Fortress, that is in here because of Clockwork Knight. 2 copies of Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon because it's that good. 1 copy of Cyber Dragon Infinity, 1 copy of Nova, and last but not least, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Seeger. So I told you guys that this deck basically is a kind of like an OTK based deck, but I'm playing some of the Cyberdark stuff. Cyberdark really wants to go first. And having said that, I'm going to show you guys real quick what the conversion kit means. So basically I play the main deck as OTK because here's my philosophy behind it. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of people want to go first. So if I have a deck that has OTK capability, I play the main OTK based, and then I put a lot of going first cards in the side deck. Now this is what I'm talking about here. Obviously, I do not play a 4th copy of Cyber Dragon. But I do play, well, actually, and I have to kind of proxy that, I do just kind of play the dark art. So, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you're playing the cyber dark stuff. I just switch out for the dark art on that one. So that's 2 Cyber Dragon, 1 Horn, 1 Edge, and 1 Keel. I do play another copy of the Cyber Dark Chimera, the Cyber Dark Cannon, the Attachment Cyburn. I play 3 Pot of Prosperity because it's just too good not to play, especially in this deck. This is another proxy. This is actually, what is it, over Future Fusion. So I hope that we either get that card in the tins or we get that card soon, but it allows you to, it's kind of like the retrain of Future Fusion. I play that. I play another copy of Horizon, another copy of Realm. I play Cyber Eternal, and then I play Cyber Dark Invasion. So this kind of allows me to convert the deck from the OTK Cyber Dragon build to a Go First Cyber Dark build that kind of wants to end on, it actually ends on, when it gets off, it ends on the Cyber Dark and Dragon plus 2 Omni Negates. So I really hope that we get over Future Fusion soon because it's pretty decent. And now, guys, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get set up here to show you how the deck itself works. Use that as the field center and then use that as my link zone. All right, guys, let me shuffle it up. But yeah, I want to show you real quick, guys. We are looking at a 2-card combo. Okay, we are looking at Cyber Dragon Core plus any spell. So let's get it. We're going to normal summon the core on activation. Okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get out a copy of Cyber Dark Realm. You're going to activate the Realm, and then let me push this up a little bit so everything's in camera here. You're going to activate the Realm, and then after you activate the Realm, that is going to grab you a Cyber Dark that is not in your graveyard. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. If you have a monster, you can insulate from destruction, and I believe you cannot be targeted. So that's if you have a monster, and I'm going to showcase that after this combo. I just want to showcase you guys like the bread and butter. So you go Cyber Dark Realm, that gets you to Cyber Dark Chimera. Next, you're going to activate Realm's effect, getting a second normal summon to get out into Chimera. You're going to activate his effect to pitch a spell or trap, search yourself a power bond. You're then going to go ahead and link these 2 away. And get into a copy of Zeger. After you get in that copy of Zeger, you're going to go ahead and activate the power bond to go Zeger and Core. Banish them. And get into a copy of Rampage Dragon. Now that Rampage Dragon on summon is going to get 2 pops. And then you're going to use Rampage Dragon's effect to send 2. Sending Hertz, and I guess it really doesn't matter. You could send Hertz and like Natcher, and then you could recover the Natcher. And then you can potentially push for OTK because this will have 42. And you could do, I think that would be what, 12,000 damage if you have an open board off of just 2 cards. Now I'm going to show you a quick 3-card that is this, but just a little bit better, because I just want to show you guys the bread and butter. So we're actually going to open up with a copy of Core, or a way to get to him. So that means Emergency. That could be Realm. It could be kind of cyclical, like you'll see what I mean by that when we get to the test hands. We're going to start with Core. I'm going to say this is our opening hand. So we have a Cyber Dragon, a spell card, and again, the monster really doesn't matter. It could be a Hertz, it could be a Natcher, it could be generic Cyber Dragon. It does not matter. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to normal summon Core. Off of Core summon, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to the Realm. We're going to activate the Realm. The Realm is going to go ahead and get us into... actually, not Chimera. We're going to go for Claw. So we're going to activate Cyber Dark Claw, pitching it to the graveyard to search us a copy of Horizon. After we do that, we are going to go ahead and use the copy of Horizon plus the Hertz. We're going to send another copy of Cyberdark Claw from our deck to grave. And we're going to get a search of a Cyber Monster that is going to actually grab us the Chimera. We're going to activate Hertz's effect to get a copy of Cyber Dragon. And then we're going to go ahead and use Realm's Extra Normal Summon to get him out. We're going to use his effect to pitch the spell from our hand, search the Power Bond, and I think you guys, my audience is pretty smart, I think you guys know where we're going with this. But I'm going to show you that you actually have a couple options. You have two to three. One thing I forgot to do is off of Cybernetic Horizon, we get to send a card from our extra deck. And I want to highlight this because I want to really explain why we're sending this card. So this is Cyber Eternity Dragon. This is the card that you send when you're going for an OTK because of what it allows you to do. This card, if it is in the graveyard, you can banish this card, and it says that fusion monsters cannot be targeted or destroyed. So let me say this one more time. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Your opponent cannot target fusion monsters you control, and they cannot be destroyed. So after we get our search off of Power Bond, we banish this. We would actually link these guys away into Zigger, and then you can go Power Bond. Now, you have two options. Option one, you want to style on your opponent and banish Hertz from grave and Core from grave, and then send Cyber Dragon from your hand to the graveyard. Because I just want to explain this real quick. If you guys don't know what Cyberdark Chimera does, this card searches Power Bond and turns it into a Miracle Fusion. Okay, but you can use cards from hand, field. You can use it from anywhere except for banish and deck. Okay. So what I did was I banished these two from grave, and then this one from hand goes to graveyard. I can make Cyber and Dragon. Okay. Option two, we have Cyber and Dragon. You have Cyber Twin Dragon. You also have the option of Chimera Tech over Dragon. At this point, not the best option because you only have about 3 materials, so that's not the best option. It's an option. And last, we have Rampage. So there are a couple situations where each of these might be the right answer. Chimera Tech over Dragon. That one probably not for this specific situation, but if I had a lot of monsters in my graveyard that I removed, this gets 800 attack per. So if I'm removing, like say it's late game and I, activate this in late game, I can maybe get this thing to like 8,000, like if I had 10 machines in grave. So for this specific situation, I'm going to actually count him out and say we just look at these 3. You're mainly going to be going for these 2. If you are worried that your opponent is holding on to an Ash to Ash the Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon so it does not get its multiple attack effect, you can go for this card. This is Cyber Twin Dragon. This comes out with 5,600 attack, boosted by Zigger, okay? So that puts it at, 56 plus 21 is, 7,700? 56, yeah, I think. 7,700. So that would be 2 attacks of about 14,000 damage, okay? And then we have the option of Chimera Tech Rampage, which this would be boosted to 63, attacking 3 times. And this is one that I have found is very, very niche. Cyber End Dragon gets boosted to, I believe, 10,100 attack. So one thing that I found, if my opponent has a monster in defense mode, if my opponent has something in defense mode, then I can just attack right through with this, and it does piercing damage. So if this does piercing damage, and your opponent has a it's like a little spot on this card, or not on the card, on the sleeve. Sorry about that, guys. If my opponent has a monster on the field that has, I believe, what would it be, 2,000 or less defense, or 2,100 or less defense, it's GG, it's game. So you can literally push through with Cyber and Dragon, and just to boot, guys, this card stops us, so we can't be targeted and we can't be destroyed. The only way that your opponent is going to be able to stop this OTK is if they have non-targeting, non-destruction removal. So like if they flipped us all face down, or if they, I cannot get the spec off this card, it's coming back. If they flip us all face down, Forbidden Droplet is a huge counter to this. Infinite Permanents can't really touch us because we can't be targeted. Valor can't touch us. Generic things that destroy can't touch us. So, I mean, it's honestly, like, when I get this deck going, it does pretty well because it kind of, one, it catches your opponent off guard a lot. Because OTK decks aren't, like, super popular. And, like, how it goes about it is just, to me, is so, like, fascinating because it really reminds me of the anime. Because it was Zane's, you know, Zane's baby was just, like, literally making, like, his deck was literally just, like, making big boss monsters. Like, Cyber Dragons were his babies. And it's just, it's amazing. So, all right, guys, we are actually going to do, I'm going to do 5 test hands and kind of really just look at what these hands can do. And kind of like say what I would do in certain situations. So because this is a go second deck or an OTK deck, we are going to be going second. So that means we're going to start with 6 in our hand. So we already drew the Power Bomb, we drew the Machine Dupe, we drew the Cyber Altanin, we drew the Cybernetic Horizon, we drew the Cyber Dark Realm, and last we drew the Hertz. So this hand would absolutely be ridiculous if I was playing against an opponent who made a nice little board of monsters. Because what I would start with would be to start with the Horizon, pitching Hertz, and trying to bait that Ash. Why that's important is because if not, I can still kind of play. But the thing that with this deck, and it's obviously it's Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's like any deck, if we get hit with Droll, we really, really struggle. So that's kind of what sucks, and I feel like all Cyber Dragons and Cyber Darks do is search. We don't really have a lot of E-Tellies or things to special summon the field. But I'm just going to kind of play this off like, you know, like just how you would if, you know, I was playing. So what I would do is I would, you know, declare Horizon, pitch Hearts, and I would pitch a Cyber Dark Claw in order to search us the core. So what I'm going to do next is I'm obviously going to send from extra deck to graveyard the Cyber Eternity Dragon. Let me just scoot that over so y'all can see. Then what I would do is I would immediately banish the Cyber Eternity to go for the Altanin. So that means if my opponent doesn't negate this, I'm shooting for the Altanin, I'm shooting for that board wipe. So that means if they didn't respond to that, I'm forcing them to respond to this. If they don't, they're going to lose their board. If they do, this gets destroyed, gets negated, whatever, I don't care. Next, we just move on. We go core. Core is actually going to be adding, I would be actually looking into something maybe perhaps for follow-up play. You may look into adding Cyber Emergency at this point. Another thing, you need to add Cyber Dragon off of Hertz. I forgot to do that. Sorry. When Hertz is sent to graveyard, you can search the OG Cyber Dragon. You could have gotten him out first here, but I don't think, you know, it really, with going for the Altanin, I would rather just leave him in hand. But after you get the core, you could go ahead and then Machine Dupe. So now my opponent, if they haven't responded to anything yet, here is where they're probably going to want to respond, because if not, I'm going to get out an Infinity. Let's say, for example, they did respond to Altanin and they negated it and they burned their Omni Negate. So now I'm going to go ahead and get out into Nova, who's going to go out into a copy of Infinity. You do have an option when you summon out Nova, okay, you have an option to take a Cyber Dragon from graveyard and special it out. I believe, yes, you detach for that. So you can detach and then just do that. It kind of just gets you something extra on board. But if you want to have more material on him, don't do that. So now this is my board, and I'm insulated now. My opponent, maybe they were waiting till battle phase to negate that power bond. They waited too long. They're going to potentially lose the game now because of that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the Cyberdark Realm. And that's going to get me to the Cyberdark Chimera. We're going to go ahead and extra normal summon him off of the Cyberdark Realm. And I'm going to use his effect to pitch the Power Bond from my hand to search one from my deck. So that way I can kind of take full advantage of having that Cyber Emergency in hand. And again, this is going to kind of play off kind of however you see fit. So Chimera and Core is going to make the link. Oh, Jesus, where's my link? He's going to make my link. And then from there we have, again, you have a couple options because we have a lot of monsters now that we can use. If you know there's nothing that your opponent can use, you can even link him away. And then you have more material in your graveyard to use for the Chimera Tech Rampage, or sorry, the Chimera Tech Overdragon. It's really kind of up to you at this point what you want to do. We'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot to banish Hearts. So just real quick, I want to explain Eltanin. This banishes, I believe it's all light. Yeah, face-up light machines from your side of the field or the grave. So Hearts would have been banished earlier. It's up to you. You know what I mean? If it's something that you want to go for, if you want to go for really any one of these three, if not maybe even him. I prefer to go into mostly these three. I just keep putting Chimera Tech Overdragon on the board as an option. Because it is an option. It's not the best option, but there are times, there are very niche plays, you know, where you can get into it. So what I would do at this point is, since I have enough to push, you know, kind of for game here, I'm not going to lie, I think I would take the Cyber End Dragon route. Unless my opponent has back row, and that's usually what I go into Rampage for. That's usually where I'm at these, you know, this is kind of like the crossroads. Do I want to go anime and style on my opponent and then get the game that way? Or do I want to pop back row and get the game with Rampage Dragon? Which, again, it is totally your choice. And it's really kind of like game dependent. Where sometimes, though, just getting that one big strike and then pushing for game right there works out. Like if your opponent has something that's going to float, you might want to just summon him out and then, you know, attack something that has low attack or low defense and then push for game. But let's say, for example, we don't. We're going to go the Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon route this time. Whenever he gets summoned, you, like, depending on the amount of material you use, he can pop them any back row. So let's say, for example, my opponent has 3 back row. I'm going to, when I summon him, I'm going to use Cyber Dragon, the Core from Grave, and then I'm going to use this Cyber Dragon from Field. So the one from hand is going to go to Graveyard, and the 2 from Field are going to go to Graveyard as well, yeah. It only banishes from Graveyard. My bad. So, you know, you Power Bond, get into him. And then I'm going to use his effect. I pop 3. And then I get to send 2 light machines from deck to Graveyard. And I can make 3 total attacks. Now he's going to be boosted. He's boosted from Power Bond. He's going to be boosted from the Zeger. He gets 6,300. So you would attack 1, 2, 3 times. And then you have Infinity's attack, and Zeger can attack just to kind of remove something from field, but no damage is done when he attacks. So, guys, that is pretty much the deck. Once we get over Future Fusion, I am gonna make a Cyber Dark deck build. Like I'm gonna make an in-depth explanation for it. But guys, that is pretty much the deck. I'm going to go ahead and do, like, I'm thinking 5 test hands. I'm thinking we just go ahead and showcase, you know, just test hands. We played through that one. That was a played test hand. I'm not going to play through these ones. I just want to show you, like, what this deck is capable of doing going second. More often than not, you are seeing things to break your opponent's board. And oh, speaking of breaking my opponent's board, I drew pretty much everything that's going to do that. So this right here is a little bit of a brick, and that is kind of like the downfall with playing so many board breakers. But my opponent's going to definitely struggle recovering from this because I also have the Clockwork Knight. So we can go ahead and go Lightning Storm for back row, Regeki for front row. we can resolve the Cyber Dark Claw to go ahead and grab Horizon and then just kind of chill on that. This hand would have been a lot more, a lot better if we would have seen like one more monster, but we didn't. Let's just see what I would draw. Okay, so see that? Okay, that kind of... You're going to have draws like that, though. You're going to have every once in a while, they're going to not be the best. So... And again, I know I made a hero deck, in-depth stuff about the heroes. But definitely 100%, if you are out and... Does this keep auto-focusing? Okay. If you are out, definitely I suggest power shuffling if you are playing, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense to try to shuffle the best that you can. And, power shuffling I feel like is definitely the best way to go about it. So guys, we are going to look at this hand real quick. That one's pretty good. We're going to go for that. That's going to get us to core. Or it can get us to Hertz and then search for core from there. We do have the machine dupe. We have the Called by the Grave, so if they try to ash us, bam, we can stop, get our search off. So that's a good hand. So that is 2 for 3. Guys, obviously, I said we're going for 5, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle up here and get this next one going. Cut the deck. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is another good hand. I don't even really feel like I have to explain that, how good that is. I mean, if you know, you know, which if you watched the video, you should know. Guys, that is what? The 4th one. So we are 3 out of 4. This very last hand, I'm going to see how we do. Okay, so this is okay. This is a very... I kind of want to play this hand real quick. All right. So this one's actually pretty... This is an interesting interaction. So you're going to go Horizon, pitching Chimera. Okay. We're going to pitch the Chimera. We're going to go ahead and pitch the Hertz from deck. We're going to search the core. Okay. And then we're also going to get the OG Cyber Dragon off of Hertz. We're going to go ahead and send the... Where's she at? The Eternity. We're going to banish Eternity. After we do that, we're going to go ahead and just get out Cyber Dragon. Or, I lied. We're going to go ahead and we're going to... If now, you kind of have 2 ways here, okay? If your opponent has something on board, you can infinite impermanence it. Okay, or you can hold the imperm to send for the power bond, like to use a Chimera's effect. You know what? I mean, looking at this, I don't even know if I'd take that route. So here's what I'm going to say. Because we're essentially going to board wipe our opponent here in a second. I would actually say to hold this and not even do the Cyberdark Chimera one. Because he's engraved. Let me just show you guys what I mean by that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to Cyber Dragon. And then we're going to go Clockwork Knight. We're going to use our opponent's whole field of monsters. And make the Fortress Dragon. After we do that, okay, obviously we imperm, sorry, that used to be engraved. We're going to go ahead and get out into Core. Core is going to go ahead and get us a search of, I don't know, anything. It's irrelevant. We're going to go ahead and go for the Machine Dupe, targeting the core. That's going to get us to double Cyber Dragons. Yes, those are ulti rares, by the way, from Cybernetic Revolution. We're going to get these guys, put them here. Go into that. We're going to go ahead and go into that. We're going to use its effect, detach, special one out, and then get out into the Cyber Dragon Infinity. After we do that, we're going to go ahead and remember, Clockwork Knight gives all of your monsters a 500 boost, and then my opponents lose 500. We're going to go ahead and do that. get out into the Zeger. And then we could just evolution end burst to search the Overload Fusion. This is such a niche hand. I'm kind of really glad I played it. So we really only had one like bad hand. We're going to go Overload Fusion, and we're going to get to our copy of Rampage. So, I mean, it's fun. It's something to, you know, take to your locals. It is something to take to a friend's house. I really wish that we would just get, like, if we could just get, like, a couple more cards. If we could get something like a Ancient Gear Fortress. If Cyber Dragons could get an Ancient Gear Fortress that specialed something out instead of searching, I think we would be golden. And I definitely think that we need a new Cyber Dragon that can help get into Infinity easier. Something like that would really boost our plays. But I definitely think keeping this deck Heart and Soul as an OTK deck is the way to go about it. I don't think that they should try to change this up and give us stuff like To Go First, which I really like. Enjoy the fact that they really just gave Ancient Gears kind of what they needed to make going second work. And a majority of their cards allow them to go second, and it really, really works. But guys, that has been another in-depth video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, maybe consider joining the channel. I am doing giveaways. Some of you may know, some of you may not. Once I reach 10 channel members, I'm going to be giving away a hero mat, and then the other 9 are going to receive a card. I have not decided what the card is going to be yet, but basically I'm going to try to be doing at least one channel member giveaway a month, so that way if you're a channel member, you're getting something in return. And if you do want to be a channel member, I totally advise you go for the 99-cent route, because odds are you're going to get your money worth with just getting things in the mail. So far, I know that I have sent out at least, I think we did 3 giveaways so far. So the mat is going to be once we hit 10 channel members. So guys, like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the Cypher Slacker out. Get your game on, guys.